Welcome to NFL Nexus, where we go beyond the headlines. All right, let's just get right into it, because there is a seriously confusing situation brewing in Indianapolis. A real puzzle that revolves around a quarterback who is supposed to be the guy, the can't-miss future of the franchise. Today, we are going to try and make sense of the tangled web the Colts are weaving around Anthony Richardson. We'll start with the biggest contradiction, the thing that just doesn't add up. Then we'll rewind and look at the massive investment they made in him. From there, we'll break down how it all went so wrong so fast. Then we'll get into the current situation, why the rest of the league seems to want nothing to do with him. And then the fun part. We'll decode what the GM is really saying. Finally, we'll lay out the huge million-dollar gamble the team is facing right now. So this whole story really kicks off with one big problem. The Indianapolis Colts are saying two completely different things at the exact same time. It's this cloud of uncertainty they've created, and it's all centered on the player who was supposed to be their clear-cut, undisputed franchise savior. I mean, think about it. On one hand, the team has pretty much sent up a giant flare for the whole league to see, signaling, hey, this guy is available. But then you have the man in charge, the general manager, walking up to a microphone and basically telling everyone to calm down, that nothing's decided. It's this deliberate contradiction that has everyone, fans, reporters, and 31 other teams, all asking the same simple question. What is the real plan here? And here it is, you can see it right here in black and white. A little while ago, the Colts gave Richardson's agent permission to go out and look for a trade. Now, in the NFL, you've got to understand, that's not some subtle hint. That is a loud and clear message. It's the front office telling the world, we are open for business. It's almost always the beginning of the end for a player with a team. But then GM Chris Ballard goes to the league meetings, stands in front of a bunch of cameras, and says there's definitely a scenario where they keep him. That's not a mistake. It's not a slip of the tongue. It's a calculated public contradiction. So, how in the world does a guy picked 4th overall end up in this spot just a few years later? To get that, we have to go back to draft night. You see, the reason this is all so confusing is because of how big the original investment was. We're not talking about some late-round lottery ticket or a backup free agent. Anthony Richardson was a blue-chip premium asset, taken with a draft pick that teams hope will change their franchise for the next 10 years. The 4th overall pick in the NFL draft, that is sacred ground. That kind of pick is the lifeblood of a team. You just don't spend that on a maybe or a project. No, that pick is reserved for a player that you are betting the entire future of the organization on, a player you believe can carry the franchise on his back, not just for a few years, but for a whole decade. And his rise was incredibly fast. I mean, after just one full year as a starting quarterback in college, he entered the draft and his stock just exploded. Teams weren't just looking at his college stats, they were completely mesmerized by his potential, his ceiling. This guy had a rare, explosive combination of size, arm strength, and pure athleticism. He was the ultimate high-upside gamble. And the Colts didn't just buy the player he was, they bought the dream of the player he could become. And they paid a premium for it, both in draft capital and in a whole lot of cash. And here's the financial proof of that bet. A contract worth almost $37 million. But the number you really need to look at is that signing bonus, nearly $24 million, all of it fully guaranteed. That's the team pushing all their chips to the center of the table. It's a statement that says, you're our guy, we are all in. The deal also had that 5th-year option, which is something only first-round picks get. It gives the team the power to keep him for an extra season. It's standard for a player they expect to be a cornerstone for a very long time. But, as we all know now, that expensive, carefully built plan was about to completely fall apart. The dream of Richardson leading the Colts to glory was derailed almost right away by what his own GM, Chris Ballard, later called freaking bad luck. The raw talent that had scouts drooling was obviously there, but he just could not stay healthy long enough to turn that potential into actual consistent NFL production. And the problem started almost immediately. In his rookie season, back in 2023, he got off to a decent start, but it all came crashing to a halt in Week 5, a season-ending shoulder surgery. For a young quarterback who needs every single snap, every practice rep he can get, that is devastating. It's not just the lost games, it's a lost year of learning, of building chemistry, of adjusting to the incredible speed of the pros. You can't get that time back. Then, after fighting his way back, more of that freaking bad luck hit in 2025, an eye injury that put him on the sidelines again for a big chunk of the season. These weren't minor dings, they were massive roadblocks that robbed him of the most important thing a young player has, experience. And because of all that missed time, the stats we do have are, well, they're not pretty. A completion percentage just over 50%. In today's NFL, where accuracy is everything, that number is a serious red flag. Throwing more interceptions than touchdowns, that's how you lose games, and it's how you lose the trust of your locker room. And get this, his entire 2025 season, 2 games played, 1 completion for 9 yards. No, that's not a typo. 1 for 9. It is a brutal, crystal clear picture of his lack of production. This combination of terrible luck and poor performance is what got the Colts into this mess in the first place. So with all that going on, the Colts decided to see what he was worth. Around the time of the NFL Combine, which is basically where every important person in the league gathers, they put out the word, Anthony Richardson is available. They were trying to see if another team would bite. The result? Absolute silence. Crickets. And this is where the cold, hard reality of the NFL kicks in. You have a former number 4 overall pick, a guy with all the physical tools you could ever want, and you put him on the market. And the response from the 31 other teams is just nothing? That's not just a lack of interest, that is a league-wide verdict. See, teams are always looking for a potential quarterback bargain. The fact that nobody is even calling to ask the price, that tells you everything you need to know. His value has completely cratered. He went from a blue-chip asset to a player that the rest of the league is running away from. And here's why the phone isn't ringing. Other general managers, they don't look at Richardson and see a future superstar anymore. They see a backup, a reclamation project that comes with a really big price tag. I mean, put yourself in their shoes. You're doing a risk-reward calculation. You see the major injury history, you see the poor stats, and then you see his contract. To get him, you have to give up a draft pick and pay him starter-level money. For a guy you see as a backup? In a league with a hard salary cap, that's just bad business. Why do that when you can draft a rookie for way less money or sign a reliable veteran for a fraction of the cost? It's that cold market that forced the Colts to change their strategy and start the PR campaign. Okay, so with nobody wanting to trade for him, the plan had to change. If you can't sell the player, you have to try and save whatever value he has left. This is where we get to decode what we call GM speak. It's an art form, really. So let's break down what Chris Ballard said, and more importantly, what he really meant by it. All right, this is step 1 in any damage control situation. First, you separate the person from the performance. By calling him a good dude, Ballard is sending a message to other teams. Hey, don't worry, he's not a problem child, he's not a pain in the locker room. That's huge for any team thinking about taking a chance on a guy. Then he adds, he's talented, to remind everyone of that raw ability that made him a top pick to begin with, even if we haven't seen it on the field. Now this is a masterclass in spinning the narrative. By blaming freaking bad luck, Ballard takes the problem outside of the player. It's not about a lack of skill, it's not about work ethic, it was just bad luck. It was fate. This is so important because it's a message to other GMs that says the player himself isn't broken, his situation was. He's trying to keep his trade value alive by suggesting that all this guy needs is a change of scenery and a little bit of good luck. Okay, so here's the pivot. Now Ballard stops talking about the past and starts selling the future. The message here is, the talent is still there, he's only 23, we're not done developing him yet. He's essentially telling the rest of the league, don't judge him on his stats, trade for him based on what he could still become. He keeps repeating that he's still young because that implies there's still plenty of time to fix the problems and unlock that potential. And this is the final piece of the PR puzzle. This is all about lowering the bar, managing expectations. Ballard is basically saying, look, maybe all of us, the media, the fans, maybe even us, we expected too much too soon. By making it seem like any player would struggle with that kind of pressure, he makes Richardson's failure feel less like a massive bust and more like a normal, predictable outcome. It's a really smart way to try and reset his value without ever admitting, yeah, we messed this one up. So after all that talk, after all this spin, the Colts are still stuck between a rock and a hard place. The trade market is dead, and are not just going to cut him and eat all that money. So that leaves them with 3 very different and very, very difficult options. And none of these options are good. Okay, option 1, trade him for basically nothing. This is the just rip the Band-Aid off move. They'd have to publicly admit they blew a top 5 pick, which no GM ever wants to do, and they'd get back maybe a late-round draft pick in return. Option 2, keep him as the most expensive backup in the league. This kills your salary cap. That money tied up in your QB2 can't be used to improve the rest of your team. It holds you back. And then there's option 3, hope for a turnaround. This might be the most dangerous move of all. You hold on to him, you hope he magically figures it out, but if he doesn't, you've just wasted another year, you've delayed finding your real answer at quarterback, and you could set the entire franchise back. And that's really what it all boils down to.
That is the Anthony Richardson paradox. Do you just admit it was a costly mistake and move on? Or do you risk it all on that tiny flicker of potential you saw on draft day? It's a massive gamble between being practical and holding on to hope. And honestly, the future of the entire Colts franchise could depend on which one they choose. And that's our breakdown. So what do you think the Colts should do? What's the right move here? Let us know what you think down in the comments. If you found this explainer helpful, do us a favor and hit that like button. And be sure to subscribe to NFL Nexus for more deep dives just like this one. And hey, if you're looking for another way to enjoy the game and help support the channel, you should check out our collection of NFL-themed coloring books. They're great for kids, grandkids, and hey, even for adults. You can find the link for them down in the description or just use the QR code that's on your screen right now. Thanks so much for watching.